Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. Introduction. What are greenlights? Welcome to this summary of Greenlights, the unconventional memoir by Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey. This book is based on decades of journals McConaughey kept throughout his life, from his youth in Texas to his rise in Hollywood and beyond. The title refers to McConaughey's philosophy about life's signals. Green lights are those moments when things flow, when the universe seems to say, go, and opportunities align. Yellow lights are warnings to slow down and proceed with caution. Red lights are full stops, obstacles that seem to block our path. But here's McConaughey's key insight. We can turn red and yellow lights into green lights through how we approach them, learn from them, and move forward. This isn't a traditional chronological autobiography. Instead, it's a collection of stories, lessons, poems, prayers, and reflections that McConaughey has organized thematically to share the wisdom he's gathered. Think of it as a guide to catching more green lights in your own life. Part 1. The Early Years and Family Foundation. Matthew McConaughey was born in 1969 in Uvalde, Texas, to Jim and Kay McConaughey. His parents had a passionate, tumultuous relationship. They married each other 3 times and divorced twice. This volatile but loving dynamic taught young Matthew important lessons about commitment, authenticity, and the complexity of human relationships. His father, Jim, was a tough, no-nonsense businessman who ran a gas station and oil pipe supply business. Jim believed in discipline, hard work, and teaching his sons to be men through direct experience, not coddling. One memorable story McConaughey shares involves his father making him and his brothers work physically demanding jobs from a young age, teaching them that honest labor builds character. His mother, Kay, was a strong-willed woman who taught school and later became a published author, herself. She was fiercely protective of her sons, but also believed in letting them experience life fully. Kay's philosophy was that you shouldn't shield children from reality, but rather prepare them to handle it. Growing up, Matthew was the youngest of 3 boys. His brothers helped shape his competitive nature and taught him to stand up for himself. The McConaughey household was loud, physical, and full of life. There were fights, tears, laughter, and always, always honesty. Pretense wasn't tolerated. One of the foundational lessons from his youth that McConaughey emphasizes is the importance of authenticity. His parents, for all their flaws, were genuine. They didn't hide their struggles or pretend to be something they weren't. This authenticity became a cornerstone of Matthew's own approach to life and career. Another crucial element from his Texas upbringing was the importance of personal responsibility. If you made a mess, you cleaned it up. If you made a promise, you kept it. If you started something, you finished it. These weren't just words in the McConaughey household. They were lived principles that would guide Matthew throughout his life. Part 2. Finding Direction and the University Years. As a young man, McConaughey initially had no clear direction. He went to the University of Texas at Austin, initially thinking he might become a lawyer like many ambitious young Texans. But during his time there, something shifted. He discovered film. More specifically, he discovered that storytelling through film excited him in a way nothing else had. This wasn't a lightning bolt moment, but rather a gradual realization that acting and filmmaking felt right, like a green light. One pivotal story from this period involves McConaughey deciding to study abroad in Australia. This experience of complete immersion in a different culture, away from everything familiar, helped him understand himself better. He learned that discomfort and unfamiliarity can be teachers. When you're stripped of your familiar context, you discover what's essential about yourself. During this time, McConaughey also began the practice of journaling seriously. He would write down experiences, thoughts, lessons, and questions. This wasn't just recording events. It was processing life, looking for patterns, and holding himself accountable to his own values and goals. A key philosophy emerged during these years: the importance of saying no to the good so you can say yes to the great. McConaughey realized that opportunities would come, but not all opportunities are created equal. Some are distractions disguised as progress. Learning to distinguish between them became crucial. He also developed what he calls his less impressed, more involved philosophy. It's easy to be impressed by things, to be a spectator of life. It's harder but more rewarding to be involved, to be a participant. This distinction would later influence how he approached his acting career and life in general. Part 3. Breaking into Hollywood. McConaughey's entry into acting came through a chance encounter at a bar in Austin. He met a casting director who invited him to audition for a small role in the film Dazed and Confused, directed by Richard Linklater. This role, though small, was McConaughey's green light into Hollywood. What's instructive about this story isn't the luck of the encounter, but what McConaughey did with it. He didn't just show up and read lines. He fully inhabited the character, brought authenticity and depth to what could have been a throwaway role, and made an impression that launched his career. After Dazed and Confused, McConaughey moved to Los Angeles and faced the typical struggles of a young actor: auditions, rejections, small roles, and uncertainty. But he approached it with the principles his parents had instilled. Work hard. Be authentic. Don't pretend to be something you're not. His breakthrough came with A Time to Kill in his bread and butter. They paid extremely well, and turning them down meant turning down guaranteed success and income. Hollywood didn't immediately offer him different roles. In fact, offers dried up almost entirely. McConaughey spent nearly 2 years without acting work. Many in the industry thought his career was over, that he was foolish to turn down sure things. But McConaughey understood something crucial. To get different results, you need to make different choices. If he kept saying yes to the same types of roles, he would keep getting the same types of offers. The only way to transform his career was to demonstrate, through his choices, that he was a different kind of actor. During this wilderness period, McConaughey didn't sit idle. He lived, he traveled. He spent time in his Airstream trailer, he reflected, and he waited. He trusted that if he held firm to his vision of the actor he wanted to be, the right opportunities would eventually come. This patience was tested, repeatedly. The offers that came were more romantic comedies, each one harder to turn down than the last. But McConaughey held the line. He understood that saying no to the wrong thing was essential to creating space for the right thing. Eventually, the industry realized he was serious. Different scripts started coming, challenging, complex, dramatic roles that allowed him to stretch as an actor. This led to what became known as the McConaissance, a remarkable period where he delivered acclaimed performances in films like Mud, Dallas Buyers Club, Interstellar, and True Detective. The lesson here is profound. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no and wait. Red lights, the obstacles that seem to block us, can become green lights if we respond to them correctly. McConaughey's career transformation didn't happen by pushing harder on the path he was on. It happened by stopping, redirecting, and creating the conditions for something new to emerge. Part 5. Life, Philosophy, and Personal Practices. Throughout Greenlights, McConaughey shares various philosophies and practices that guide his life. These aren't abstract theories, but practical tools he uses regularly. One key practice is what he calls catching green lights. This means recognizing when things are flowing and capitalizing on those moments. When you have momentum, don't question it, ride it. When opportunities align, don't overthink, move forward. Another crucial concept is engineering green lights. This is about creating conditions for success. You can't control everything, but you can influence probabilities. You prepare, you work hard, you position yourself, and you increase the likelihood that good things will happen. McConaughey also talks about turning red and yellow lights into green lights. This is about perspective and response. An obstacle is only an obstacle until you find a way through, over, or around it. A delay is only negative until you use it as preparation, time. A rejection is only final until you learn from it and try differently. He emphasizes the importance of personal rituals and routines. For McConaughey, this includes regular exercise, time in nature, journaling, and what he calls going to the desert. This last practice means periodically withdrawing from the noise of life to reflect, reassess, and reconnect with yourself. One of his most repeated mantras is less impressed, more involved. Life is happening now. Don't just observe it, participate in it. Don't be a spectator of your own life, be the author of it. McConaughey also discusses the concept of outlaw logic, which means questioning conventional wisdom and finding your own path. Just because everyone does something one way doesn't mean it's the right way for you. Think independently, trust your instincts, and be willing to zig when others zag. Part 6. Love, Family, and What Matters Most. A significant portion of Greenlights deals with McConaughey's personal life, particularly meeting and marrying Camilla Alves and becoming a father. McConaughey shares how meeting Camilla was different from other relationships. There was an immediate recognition, a sense that this was significant. But he also approached the relationship differently than he had in the past. He was more intentional, more honest about what he wanted, and more willing to be vulnerable. When they decided to have children, McConaughey was clear about his priorities. Family would come first. Not in a lip-service way, but in how he structured his life and career. He turned down projects that would take him away from his family for extended periods. He made sure to be present for the important moments. Becoming a father transformed McConaughey in ways he didn't anticipate. It clarified his values, it deepened his sense of purpose, and it made him more conscious of the example he was setting. The question became, what kind of man did he want his children to see him being? One touching story involves McConaughey's father passing away. Jim McConaughey died while making love to Kay, which, Matthew notes with appreciation, is exactly how his dad would have wanted to go. This loss was profound, but Matthew honored it by living according to the principles his father taught him. Be honest, work hard, love fully, and don't leave anything on the table. The lessons about family and Greenlights aren't sentimental platitudes. They're about making hard choices, sacrificing short-term gains for long-term values, and being intentional about what you want your life to be about. Part 7. Bumper Sticker, Wisdom and Life Lessons. Throughout the book, McConaughey includes what he calls bumper stickers, short phrases that capture important lessons. Here are some key ones and what they mean. Don't half-ass it. Whatever you're going to do, commit fully. Partial commitment yields partial results and often creates more problems than it solves. The arrow doesn't seek the target draws the arrow. When you're clear about what you want, opportunities and paths tend to appear. Clarity of purpose is magnetic. Give your obstacles credit. Look for their lessons. Every difficulty contains information. Obstacles aren't just things to overcome, they're teachers if you pay attention. Turn the page. Don't get stuck reliving past glories or past failures. Life moves forward. You should too. Life's not easy. Don't try to make it that way. Pursuing ease often leads to hardship. Accepting that worthwhile things are difficult makes the difficulty more bearable and the achievement more meaningful. We cannot fully appreciate the light without the shadows. Success means more when you've experienced failure. Joy is deeper when you've known sorrow. Contrast gives life texture and meaning. Define success for yourself. Don't let others' metrics determine whether you're winning or losing. Know what matters to you and measure accordingly. Don't leave crumbs. This comes from his mother and means finish what you start, clean up your messes, and don't leave problems for others to solve. Part 8. The McConaughey Approach to Catching Greenlights. As the book concludes, McConaughey synthesizes his various stories and lessons into practical guidance for catching more greenlights in life. First, know yourself. This requires reflection, honesty, and willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. You can't get where you want to go if you don't know where you're starting from. Second, define your own success. Don't adopt someone else's definition of a good life. Figure out what matters to you, what brings you joy and meaning, and orient your life around that. Third, be willing to make sacrifices for what you truly want. You can't have everything, so choose wisely what you're willing to give up and what you're not. Fourth, develop resilience and patience. Green lights don't come on your schedule. Sometimes you have to endure red lights for a long time before conditions change. Fifth, maintain your integrity. Short-term gains from compromising your values create long-term problems. The person you are when no one's watching determines the person you'll be when everyone is. Sixth, stay curious and keep learning. The moment you think you have it all figured out is the moment you stop growing. Seventh, be grateful. Gratitude isn't just a nice feeling. It's a practice that changes your perspective and increases your capacity for joy. Finally, take risks. Calculated risks? Yes, but risks nonetheless. Playing it safe might avoid failure, but it also prevents the kind of success that makes life extraordinary. Conclusion. Your own green lights. Green Lights is ultimately about agency and authorship. McConaughey's message is that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you can control how you respond. You can choose to see obstacles as permanent barriers or as temporary challenges. You can choose to stay stuck or to keep evolving. You can choose to live authentically or to perform a version of yourself that you think others want to see. The green lights in your life won't look exactly like McConaughey's. You're not trying to become him. You're trying to become the fullest version of yourself. But the principles he shares, authenticity, persistence, courage, reflection, gratitude, and intentionality, these are universal. McConaughey ends the book by encouraging readers to write their own story. Start journaling. Pay attention to the patterns in your life. Notice what works and what doesn't. Learn from both successes and failures. And most importantly, keep moving forward. Life will give you red lights. That's guaranteed. But how you respond to them determines whether they remain obstacles or become opportunities. Sometimes a red light is protecting you from something worse ahead. Sometimes it's redirecting you to something better. And sometimes it's testing whether you really want what you say you want. The art of living, according to Matthew McConaughey, is learning to recognize the green lights when they appear, to engineer more of them through preparation and positioning, and to transform the red and yellow lights through perspective and persistence. So pay attention, stay authentic, work hard, love fully, be grateful, take risks, and catch as many green lights as you can. All right, all right, all right.